do something a little different today, and we're going to try to make some predictions. It is Friday today, so the market's just a little bit slower usually as people kind of wind up their week. So this will probably be kind of what's going to happen this coming week, maybe the first part of it. We'll see. So we're looking at the S&P index, the futures today for the first part here, because that is my favorite thing to trade. It moves fast, and it seems to be the easiest thing for me to predict. Then we're going to take a look at something new today. We're going to take a look at the Dow Jones futures and kind of try to make some predictions with that as well. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we look at our macro view, our 4-hour 180-day chart, and we can see that we have surpassed the peak than the peak that we formed back in April, and we are kind of in this up channel, and we are at the lower end of this up channel, and it's not a great channel. We've only got 2 points here and 2 points there. What I really like to see is 3 points. When you see that, then it's a little more solid of a channel. But anyway, it is decent. All right, and I've put in some price lines. As you can see, this yellow price line is kind of like the main area that it seems to have gone down to. It's not the lowest of the lowest points. But it is kind of the area that it went flat for a while. So that's just below where we are right now. And so then we look at the 1-hour chart up here, and we can see that the SMAs are kind of crossing over. And we have broken through the 20 SMA here. And the dotted line that we see here and here is just below the crossover on that 1-hour chart. So that it's very possible we'll see it going up to that point. And it's a little hard to tell on this chart. Let's see if we can go to the next one. Okay, so here we have the dotted line here, and it's almost matching the blue line here. Let me go back again to that last chart. You can kind of see where this, the orange line and the gold line are going to cross is just above that pink line. So I am thinking that it's probably going to get up to that point, which is going to be around 53.20 or so at that point. Okay, and that also matches with what we see here, about 53.21, 53.20, something like that, right around that area. That is my prediction for today. I think it's going to probably get up to that point. And let's see, I drew in a Fibonacci line just to kind of play around with it, trying to figure out what might be a good, if that matches the destination point that I've kind of come up with. And it was really hard to figure out where to put it. I ended up doing it pretty short term, just the last 3 days. So the lowest point here, and then the highest point of yesterday, and then the lowest point of yesterday, which happened to be the lowest point that it's been. And it kind of laid out this grid showing that it was going to go up. And you can actually see the 78.6% line, which is a pretty decent place for it to get to. I've seen it hit that many, many times. And that is really, really close to that prediction as well. So 53.20 or 53.19 through 21 is kind of the area where I really suspect that it will get to at least today. And after that point, it's a little bit iffy. If we continue in this channel, it will continue way on up there. But there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and I'm not comfortable saying that it will go up farther than that at this point. So we'll just have to look at it again at that point and see what happens. Okay, and this is just another view of the same thing. Okay, now let's go to the Dow Jones. All right, this is the YM /YM versus the other one is /ES. All right, so the YM, you can actually see that the peak that it made just recently was actually lower than this peak, which I thought was pretty interesting. I'm not really familiar with this one, but they often track each other. The Dow Jones and the S&P, they tend to go the same direction. But the fact that this is a little bit lower of a peak than this one is that's actually not a very good sign. So I started by my analyzation of this trade here by drawing in, first of all, kind of a support that I see within hitting distance here. And that is based on the 4-hour blue SMA, which is our 180-day SMA. And you can see that that's very close to where we are right now. And then I drew an orange one to kind of match where the 20 SMA was up here. And that's up here. So actually, it's, we've kind of got this support and resistance level with, pretty close together here. On this chart, it looks pretty far, but it's actually not that far apart. And I actually did not draw in the gold SMA. I could have done that as well. So that would be around the 39,841 level would be where the gold SMA would be. Okay, and then we can look at the 1-hour chart over here, and we can see that we have just kind of crossed over the orange SMA, which is the 20 SMA on the 1-hour chart. And it's kind of acting as a resistance level a little bit there. It's hesitating, breaking through it. Kind of looking at the ES and then coming back to this one, I was basically saying it's going to go up. The ES is going to go up. And so I'm kind of inclined to say that it's also going to go up on this chart as well. But if I were just looking at this chart, I would say it's looking kind of downtrending, and that may really affect what the other chart does as well. Let's see. So then I drew in another price line kind of at this low peak here. And I also drew in a dotted price line at the last peak and the previous peak. So we can kind of see on this chart where we are in the grand scheme of things. And then I also drew in a Fibonacci line. Now this Fibonacci line, the first one I drew was on a very macro level. So we started our first point way back at the beginning of April, and then the lowest point here, and then the highest point. And that's kind of showing as well that it's looking for a downtrend, or, it's a downward possibility here, which is kind of interesting to me, as I kind of think maybe in the long term it might be dropping quite a bit. And it's very interesting to me that it's come down almost to that 38.2% line. And that is close enough that I would say this line is definitely affecting that. And you can also see that Fibonacci line affected this little area right here. You can see that's kind of where it hesitated right through there. And so I think that this Fibonacci line is telling us it's probably going to be dropping. And it would have to get through this support level right here, which is just below 39,000. But I think that may be where this one's going. Now the MACD on the 4-hour chart is looking like it's tipping up. And so that is conflicting information that makes it really, really hard to make a pretty decent prediction. All right, so here I redid the Fibonacci line in a much shorter scale and showing that it's going up based on the low point and then the high point and the low point from yesterday. So this is kind of like the one that I just drew on the ES. And it's showing that it's going to go up, and I think it's very interesting that the 261.8% line matches the orange line here, which is that trough that it formed right there. So that matches pretty well. You can also see that it kind of fluctuated between the 0 and the 23.6% line. And let me go to the one more screen over here so I spread it out a little bit. Actually, it kind of fluctuated between the 38.2% line and the 0, which is interesting to me. And then it kind of broke through it at this point this morning. And it keeps hitting these levels and kind of hesitating. So it went up to this level and then it dropped back down to this level. Very interesting how it interacts with the Fibonacci lines here. And so the 78.6% line, that's one of our really important numbers, kind of matches up with what we see on this blue SMA. So I would say, if I could make a prediction, I think it's probably going to go up to 39,287 today, and then possibly a little bit higher. But I do think in the long term, probably next week, we're going to be seeing some dropping. So anyway, I hope that helps. And let me know if you can see something different here. Okay, so as I was making that video, I was kind of watching on my phone and I realized that it was already hitting the levels that I had predicted earlier in this video. So as you can see on the YM, we got up to that 287 area, and we are heading up a little bit further. And if we go to the ES, we can see that it has already gotten up to the 53.29 point there, which was the higher end of what I was thinking that it would be. And you can also see that it is now at the blue SMA on the 10-minute chart here, which is also the point over here on the 1-hour chart where it crossed over. Actually, we've gone above it. So I think right now it may be at already, it might actually be at its resistance levels, and it might be as high as it gets today. So doing a short at this point would probably be your best bet, or maybe even getting out. So it'd be very interesting watching it for the rest of the day. It may just end up going flat until next week, but I would be very cautious at this point. So I don't expect it to get up too much further. I mean, it's possible, like I said, on the ES, it looks like we've got this channel going on and it's, heading up to the top of the channel. But if you really look at where it is here, the SMAs are crossing over and possibly going down. The MACD now is turning up. So, oh goodness, you got the conflicting information. I think we're really at a critical point here. It's like a decision point. We're almost at the 100% line of the Fibonacci here. I don't know what to think. I'll be very, very cautious. I would not be at all surprised if it starts dropping pretty soon here. Be careful, traders.